Today we're going to talk about 10 no skip, 10 out of 10 heavy metal albums from the 1980s, as put together by Screen Rant. Let's go. After the precedent was set for heavy metal in the 1970s, the 1980s elevated the genre to the next level as some legendary bands released 10 out of 10 no skip albums. While the decade was known for musicians such as Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston, there were also plenty of rockers producing the heaviest sounds in many different ways. A slew of subgenres was created, proving that metal wasn't one-dimensional. Instead, the rise of glam metal, thrash metal, and other subgenres showed that there was still much to explore when it came to this type of music. Of course, some established bands helped lead the way, but there were plenty of up-and-coming acts that demonstrated their capabilities. They not only made a name for themselves by creating signature tunes, but also by becoming influential and inspiring artists of all kinds. We start with 1986's Peace Sells, But Who's Buying from Megadeth. After a less than stellar exit from Metallica, Dave Mustaine was determined to prove he could be the leader of his own band. Megadeth got off to a tremendous start with their debut album, but the question remained about whether they could follow it up. They did so in a huge way when they released Peace Sells, But Who's Buying in 1986. The original record was only 8 tracks long, which helped add to its allure. It provided just over 36 minutes of pure thrash metal perfection. From the first song, Wake Up Dead, to the last, My Last Words, it showcased the band's technical abilities and helped establish them among the top thrash metal acts. Additionally, its platinum certification has further solidified its legacy. We move on to 1984's Don't Break the Oath from the legendary Merciful Fate. Throughout his career, Danish vocalist King Diamond has become a legend of the metal genre. Although he has fronted many bands, his two most well-known are one that takes his own name and, of course, Merciful Fate. The latter produced their first album in 1983, quickly following up with their sophomore record in 1984. Common traits of the black metal genre include distorted guitars, shrieking vocals, and fast tempos. Well, Don't Break the Oath became known for the band blending both heavy metal and progressive metal elements. King Diamond's voice, revered for its falsetto, shined through, delivering a memorable performance due to its sound and lyrical content. This record would have a significant influence on early black metal. We move on to Heaven and Hell, 1980, from Black Sabbath. In their early beginnings, Black Sabbath were known for being one of the pioneers of heavy metal. Their early career spoke for itself, but they encountered an expected change when they decided to part ways with vocalist Ozzy Osbourne, who went on to have a very successful solo career. But with no signs of slowing down, the band recruited Ronnie James Dio as their singer and were ready to unveil their next chapter. Dio's first album with them was released in 1980, and although his voice differed wholesale from Ozzy Osbourne's, it was easy to tell that they were more in sync than ever. With its high production value, it showcased an evolution from their 70s sound into what 1980s heavy metal could deliver. Their time with Ronnie James Dio didn't last very long, but what they accomplished together will never be forgotten. We move on to the thrash metal legends Slayer with their 1988 release, South of Heaven. Coming into their fourth studio album, Slayer had a lot of expectations to meet after their meteoric rise to the top throughout the 80s. Additionally, the record they had released prior contained their signature song, Raining Blood. Therefore, there could be no settling for anything less than their best. With Rick Rubin still as their producer, the band got to work and released South of Heaven in 1988. In an effort to make this album feel distinct from what they had previously done, the band worked tirelessly on perfecting their tempo. Some music pundits were taken aback by the change, but the record produced multiple hits. Over the years, its influence has extended beyond music into professional wrestling, where former WWE World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest has named his finishing move out after it. We move on to 1982's Creature of the Night from Kiss. While Kiss has been known for conquering many genres in their career, including hard rock and amazingly disco, the band was determined to make their heaviest album yet in the 1980s. This record was titled Creatures of the Night, and it arrived in 1982. The idea was to bring them back to popularity and help them dominate the decade the way they had in the one prior. As expected from their vision, some of the band's toughest songs came from this album, including I Love It Loud and War Machine. Beyond just the music, this was a special release for the band as it was dedicated to the memory of one of their early supporters, Neil Bogart, who was the founder of Casablanca Records. This was the label that Kiss called home for many years. And I truly believe, it is my opinion, that if Kiss decided to take off the makeup 1 year earlier, that Creatures of the Night would be held in a higher regard than Lick It Up. We move on to Number of the Beast, also from 1982, from Iron Maiden. Going into their third studio album, Iron Maiden underwent changes as they replaced their original singer, Paul Di'Anno, with Bruce Dickinson of Samson. There was no decline in the band's sound. In fact, many felt they were better than ever. The Number of the Beast featured numerous classic songs and was a definitive statement from the band. Commercially, it was a success as well, as it reached 33 on the Billboard 200, which was higher than their previous records. This iconic album was praised for its strong songwriting and for launching their new era with a great start. Although it doesn't always work out, this is a prime example of when a replacement singer achieves even more success than the original. We now talk about the legendary Ace of Spades, released in 1980 by Motorhead. After making a strong impression with their first 4 records in the late 70s, Motorhead had something special in store for their 5th album. The title track from Ace of Spades would ultimately become a signature song for the band. Beyond the praise for this tune, all the others were enjoyed for their raw sound and aggressive energy as well. Over the years, the appreciation for this album has grown. It has been ranked by Rolling Stone magazine as one of the 500 greatest of all time. Additionally, there have been a few anniversary releases along with a documentary made about it. Now this album is recognized for how truly influential it was, and it serves as a defining piece of the band's legacy. And of course, no list of heavy metal albums would be complete without the legendary Judas Priest and their 1980 release, British Steel. After debuting with a focus on blues rock, Judas Priest spent their next few records perfecting their heavy metal sound. Their 6th studio album, released in 1980, was the culmination of everything they were working towards. British Steel maintained a powerful sound, but the straightforward concept allowed for easy retention. After drawing inspiration from AC/DC on how songs could be crafted, this record featured some of their signature tunes. These include Breaking the Law and, of course, Living After Midnight. Although it didn't place on many charts, it did rank in the top 40 of Billboard 200. As admiration for it grew, so did the sales, eventually leading to platinum success. We now move on to 1989's Dr. Feelgood from Motley Crue. After dominating the 1980s as one of the premier glam metal bands, Motley Crue had one more project to release before the decade ended. In this, they released Dr. Feelgood. It came from a genuine place of each member looking to live a better life. Instead of putting their energy elsewhere, they focused it all on this record, and it paid off in spades, becoming number 1 on the Billboard 200. Everything Motley Crue believed this album could be came to fruition, as both critics and fans praised it as their best work. The sales support this assertion, as it now has registered 6 times platinum, making it their best-selling record of all time. Although things for them changed after that, with lead singer Vince Neil leaving for a brief period, it was a perfect way to close the 80s. And we move on to Injustice for All from Metallica. Before selling out stadiums multiple nights in a row, a foundation had to be built. Metallica had one of the greatest rises to success in the 1980s. They claimed the spot of being one of the leading forces in thrash metal and music in general. Their most commercially successful album of the decade was 1988's Injustice for All. The album's 6th place ranking on the Billboard 200 was the highest they had experienced at that point. Over time, this record, which has become known for its strong lyrical themes, has gone 8 times platinum. After this release, the only question was how much bigger could they get? The answer was incredibly bigger, as their most successful album, the self-titled Black Album, would come out just a few years later. And that's the end of our list. Thank you for joining me. We will see you in the next video.